My name's Shirley Keating, and I'm a mother and a carer for my daughter, Kayleigh. She's 21. She was diagnosed Asperger's when she was 8, but she has learning difficulties and health issues as well. When she was a lot younger, we used to go on the Santa train. Because she was only little, she was only like a toddler, sort of, say 2 to say 6, 7. So in those days, fortunately, it was a bit more manageable because, of course, you could lift her, you could carry her, you could protect her a bit more because she's much smaller. It was just lovely because I think, again, because you're on the train, you're looking out the window and looking at the scenery. So even though there's a lot of people in the actual train itself, I think she was taken away by the view, rather than looking at who was on the train. So I think that helped when she was younger. She's been very difficult, as you can imagine, again, with crowds, noise, lighting, smells, the usual autistic traits that they struggle with. And it's just trying to protect them. And what you find you do as a family, you try and get a time when it's quiet. Initially, just getting out the car into the car park would be massive because, again, you're coming out your comfort zone, your protection of your family and everything. And there's people, and you can't stop people from walking close to you, or, so it's a case of just being vigilant of where you're walking to stay away from crowds the best you can. Even just getting up to the door of the actual station itself, is people walking past because it's on a busy road, busy pavement. There's people going to and fro before you even get in the station. So the anxiety, as you can imagine, has already reached quite high before we've even got in the station. And then when you get in the station, you're obviously queuing to buy tickets. There's groups of families, whatever, all the different people chattering. So it's the sound of voices can be quite overwhelming, and you do see a lot of autistic or even general public that don't like loud noises wearing all these, ear defenders these days. But unfortunately, Kayleigh doesn't like wearing things on her ears. So if anything, if she has like a hoodie on, she'll put the hood up and she'll pull it tight or put her hands on her ears. And again, we'll try and shuffle to the quietest place, if there is a quiet place in, where you're waiting to get your tickets. Or if it's really that busy, I'll stand to one side with her. Again, try and find a quiet corner with her. And, my husband and another daughter will queue up for the tickets. But then it's like, if there's a cafe on site, the smells, the lighting, all this is like impounding on her as soon as she walks through those doors. And that what becomes so overwhelming for them. So then say you get your tickets, like for instance, how to get to the platform, is there a lift, is there escalators, or is it just stairs? But again, she's not so keen on lifts. So if we got in a lift, again, people automatically get in a lift when the doors open, whereas it'd be better for us just as a family, just the 4 of us in a lift, and not strangers, because again, not only the closeness, it's somebody she doesn't know and she'd feel scared. But then you 2 other people, if you said, can it just be us in the lift, that'd look really strange to them and think, well, we want to get in the lift too. They wouldn't understand why we're doing it. And you don't want to always explain why, it's a case of, we look okay, so why are you not letting us in? The other thing we find difficult is escalators. She doesn't like escalators. She feels as though she's going to fall. You think of they're on their own, they're like a set of stairs on their own, and it's open either side. Oh. And she's on these stairs. I never realised it at first, but again, as being a mum, you try and see it from how they're taking it on board. And she's getting on these stairs that are moving down without her control. And there's nothing that side, nothing that side, and you can be quite high up on escalators. And she doesn't have a very good balance. So even though they say hold on, she's still feeling very vulnerable. And, you know, Terry will stand in the front, I'll stand behind and say, it's okay, you know, we're here to sort of make you feel safe. Where it got to the stage that we just don't use escalators anymore because she just feels sick to actually step onto it. So again, that's a barrier you have to cross before you've even got to the platform. So then when you're on the platform, as you can imagine, again, the group of people have all moved down with you. So again, you're trying to move away from people, but people don't know. And so they might move close to you, not realising. And as you know, some families are louder than others, and sudden noises to Kayleigh can really upset her, you know, really frighten her. And then I was thinking actually stepping onto the train, you know, the little step, and from the platform, there's that gap and you can see underneath. Again, she thinks she's going to fall down. And so that was a barrier just to actually stepping onto the step. And sometimes, depending how the platform was how high the step would be to get on the train. It could be a simple little step, or it could end up being quite a large step. And so eventually when we got her on there, the next thing is trains are quite narrow. And again, it's enclosure, it's claustrophobic. To me and you go in and you see all these seats and you're just looking for the first seat that's available and thinking, right, that's enough seats for 2 of us, 4 of us, however many, and you go to that. Whereas you think Kayleigh sees this space and she's seeing the window, she's seeing where you put your luggage, she's seeing the seat, she's seeing the colour of the carpet, she's hearing the voice, she's hearing babies crying, you know, it's all. Whereas we hear the same, but not to the same impact they do. We can sort of filter it out and think, well, yes, I know that's going on, but I want that seat over there. Whereas looking at that seat, she probably can't even see that seat because of everything else that's going on. So she'd probably stood in the doorway then, and everyone's probably thinking, why isn't she moving? You know, what's the hold up? And it's the fact that she can't move because there's too much information. Plus, it's only very narrow, and she's thinking, how am I going to get down there? Can I fit down there? Can I get to that seat? So all this amount's going on until eventually you get to your seat. But even then, when you get to your seat, it depends on the size of the seat, what sort of shape the seat is, what actually covers the seat, the material. You know, if it's like, a lot of them, you can get like this sort of velour sort of feeling, you know, on buses and trains, which again, to you and me, you might think, oh, this is nice and comfy, and put your head back and thinking, oh, this is that. Whereas Kayleigh will sit down and thinking, oh, this is spiky, I don't like this, you know. Or a lot of them, if they have arms, again, she feels closed in, and she's quite a big girl. It's too small for her. So it's just a massive array of stuff. And that's when you've eventually sat down. And again, on a train, you get tables in the middle. Well, of course, they're fixed. You can't move them. You can't move the chairs. So again, if you're a bit on the bigger size, there isn't much space to slide in. So sometimes we have difficulty even getting into a seat. And if she does get into a seat, she then can't move because she's sort of hemmed in. Public toilets for disabled, they have, obviously, the figure they use is in a wheelchair. Sometimes they can't hold it like a child. It's a case of if they want to go to the toilet, they need to go now, not 2 minutes or 10 minutes. You know, it's like now, or they will have an accident. So we have chose to use a disabled toilet. But again, I felt guilty taking her in there because, again, we don't fit that picture. We're not in a wheelchair. And again, she doesn't rush. We can be in there for some time, you know, because she has to adjust her clothes and make sure they're all, you know, all okay before she comes out again. And you can imagine people, that the way they've looked at us when we've come out, you know, because she's not in a wheelchair, as if to say, why are you using a disabled toilet? You know, that's for us. So that's made me feel really upset. With autism, they like to try and understand where they're going.
Mm.
But I do find with Kayleigh, no matter how much information you give her, when we do get there, it can be totally different to what she's expecting. So it is very difficult to give exact, just as simple as that, a different colour on the wall. She'll think this isn't the same place. When people just don't give you that second of a thought, 24/7, whether I just be out walking with the dog, anything, just the simplest of things. Like I can go out and say I'm just going to my car and someone can walk past the driveway and they might beep a horn or something, just unnecessarily. Well, that can frighten her to death and she'll go back in the house and not come out. And you think, why did you do that? And it's just thinking of others, which I know is difficult. But yeah, as you can imagine, living with Kayleigh the last 20 years, we love her to death. She's a brilliant daughter, but she has a lot of issues, and I've just become her sole carer. Over the last 5 years, I've had to give up work, bless her, because once she finished high school, she couldn't manage college, and of course she couldn't be left on her own. So the last 5 years, it's been me and her at home 24/7 till, of course, Dad comes home in the evening. It's not we're just telling you about their difficulties, it's the whole family, who struggles, whether it be mentally, physically, it's a day-to-day, not just when you're going away next week, we've got to arrange something. It's as soon as she gets up, you don't know how she's going to be today. That's why I'm constantly shattered, because your mind's constantly watching over them and trying to think how to keep them calm at the end of the day. So you can imagine what that's like outside. It's absolutely horrendous.